The International Monetary Fund predicts strong growth for Russia's economy this year. That's despite sanctions imposed for the invasion of Ukraine. European nations trail well behind Russia in the IMF forecast. So what's behind these figures? Do sanctions actually work? This is Inside Story.
No matter how hard Europe tried to hold it back with sanctions, Russia just shrugged it off and came out on top as the biggest economy in Europe. It's like they found a way to keep rolling no matter what gets thrown at them. These sanctions were intended to weaken Russia by targeting its essential economic sectors, including energy, finance, and defense. The goal was to slow down Russia's economic momentum, but the result has been quite the opposite. Russia has shown remarkable resilience and adaptability in the face of these challenges. It has not only managed to withstand the impact of the sanctions, but has also found ways to prosper. At the core of Russia's economic strength is its powerful energy sector. Russia is a major player in the global oil and natural gas market. When Western countries imposed sanctions, Russia strategically shifted its focus towards Asia. This move proved to be very effective. Countries like China and India have become major customers, buying large amounts of energy from Russia. This shift has allowed Russia to maintain a steady stream of income, helping it offset the losses caused by the sanctions from the West. Moreover, Russia's agricultural sector has also played a significant role in its economic stability. The country has invested heavily in improving its agricultural infrastructure, leading to increased production of wheat and other grains. In 2023, Russia reported exporting a record-breaking 60 million tons of grain. This achievement has not only boosted Russia's economy, but has also helped it to establish new trade relationships that are unaffected by Western sanctions. These relationships are vital as they provide Russia with continued economic opportunities despite the ongoing geopolitical tensions. In response to the sanctions that limited access to Western technology and equipment, Russia has focused on developing its own technology sector. The Russian government has increased funding for local tech companies and research organizations. This investment has spurred advancements in several key areas, including artificial intelligence, cybersecurity, and renewable energy. These developments have lessened the impact of Western sanctions and positioned Russia as a competitive force in the global technology market. Additionally, Russia has worked diligently to strengthen its economic ties with countries outside the Western sphere. This effort is evident in its active participation in groups like the Eurasian Economic Union, EAEU, and BRICS, Brazil, Russia, India, China, and South Africa. These alliances have been crucial for Russia as they have facilitated the establishment of new trade routes and economic partnerships. These new connections help protect Russia's economy from the pressures exerted by Western countries. Russia's financial stability is like a well-built dam holding back economic turmoil. Imagine having a really big savings account to dip into when times get tough. That's what Russia has done with its foreign reserves. By the end of 2023, these reserves reached a whopping 600 billion. This massive fund acts as a financial cushion, helping Russia weather any economic storms that come its way. Think of the Central Bank of Russia as the country's financial guardian. They've been very careful with their money, making sure that inflation doesn't get out of hand. Inflation is like when your money doesn't buy as much as it used to because prices keep going up. In 2023, they managed to bring inflation down to 7.4%, which is a big deal because it was 11.9% in 2022. Lower inflation means people can afford more with the money they have, which is always a good thing. The central bank has also worked hard to keep the ruble, Russia's currency, stable. A stable ruble makes people and investors feel more confident about the economy. It's like having a steady job. You know what to expect, and you can plan better for the future. Russia's sovereign wealth fund is another key player in their financial stability. This fund is like a giant piggy bank that the government can use for big projects or to help out when the economy isn't doing well. It's funded by the country's revenues from things like oil and gas exports. By saving and investing this money wisely, Russia has created a safety net for the economy. Having these reserves and a strong sovereign wealth fund means that Russia can handle unexpected expenses or financial crises without having to borrow a lot of money from other countries. It's a bit like having an emergency fund in your personal finances. You might not need it all the time, but it's a lifesaver when you do. The prudent monetary policies are also crucial. The Central Bank of Russia uses these policies to manage the economy. For example, they can adjust interest rates to control how much money is in circulation. If inflation starts to rise, they might increase interest rates to make borrowing more expensive and slow down spending. On the other hand, if the economy needs a boost, they might lower interest rates to encourage borrowing and spending. This careful management has paid off. The reduction in inflation from 11.9% to 7.4% is significant. It means that the cost of living isn't rising as quickly, so people's money goes further. This stability helps to build trust in the economy, both among Russian citizens and international investors. Investors, both local and foreign, look at these indicators when deciding where to put their money. A stable currency and low inflation are attractive because they suggest a lower risk of losing money. This confidence can lead to more investment in the country, which in turn can drive economic growth. Massive investments in infrastructure projects have also contributed to the economic growth. In 2023 alone, the government allocated over $100 billion to various infrastructure projects, including transportation, energy, and digital infrastructure. These improvements have created jobs, improved connectivity, and attracted foreign investment, driving economic activity and supporting long-term growth. Despite these successes, there are concerns about how sustainable this growth is. High government spending, especially on defense, has led to inflationary pressures, and the central bank has raised interest rates to 16% to manage this. The overall economic picture for everyday Russians varies, with those in major cities feeling less of the sanctions' impact compared to those in rural areas. Unemployment remains low at 4.7%, but wage growth has been uneven, leading to disparities in living standards across different regions. Recognizing the need for broader economic reforms, Russia has implemented several policies to improve the business environment, reduce bureaucratic hurdles, and support small and medium-sized enterprises. For instance, in recent years, the number of SMEs in Russia has grown significantly, contributing around 20% to the GDP and providing employment for approximately 18 million people. Efforts to streamline regulations and provide better access to financing have been pivotal in this growth. On the social front, the government has focused on enhancing healthcare and education, critical for ensuring a more stable and productive workforce. In healthcare, Russia has increased its healthcare budget by around 20% in the last 5 years. This funding boost has been directed towards modernizing medical equipment and facilities, which has been essential given that many primary care physicians in Russia are, on average, 60 years old, and the country has faced a shortage of younger, qualified medical staff. Additionally, high-tech medical centers have been established in federal centers aiming to decentralize healthcare services and make them more accessible across the country. Despite these achievements, Russia's economic future is not without challenges. Issues such as corruption continue to plague the system, with estimates suggesting that corruption costs the Russian economy billions of dollars annually. Furthermore, the country faces a demographic decline, with the population expected to decrease by 2 million people by 2030 due to low birth rates and high mortality rates. Regional disparities also pose significant hurdles, as economic growth is often unevenly distributed, leaving some areas more developed than others. Geopolitical factors add another layer of complexity. The volatile geopolitical landscape and potential future sanctions could impact economic stability. For example, the sanctions imposed in recent years have led to a reduction in foreign investments and access to international markets, which are crucial for Russia's export-driven economy. Russia's rise to become Europe's largest economy, with a GDP around $1.7 trillion in 2023, is a testament to its resilience and adaptability. By leveraging its vast natural resources, particularly in the oil and gas sectors, which alone account for approximately 25% of the GDP and over 60% of exports, fostering innovation and building strategic alliances, Russia has defied expectations and emerged stronger. However, the country must continue to diversify its economy to reduce its dependence on natural resources and sustain long-term growth. So, even though a lot of Western brands pulled out of Russia due to sanctions, people are still finding ways to get their hands on those products. How? Through parallel imports. Goods like BMWs, iPhones, and even Lego sets are making their way into Russia through countries like Kazakhstan and Uzbekistan. It's kind of like a big game of hide and seek, with goods getting rerouted to bypass the official channels. Russia has been cozying up to China a lot more lately, especially when it comes to money matters. Instead of relying on dollars or euros, Russia is doing more business in the yuan, the Chinese currency. This helps them dodge some of the financial hurdles thrown at them by Western sanctions. It's like switching to a new game plan when the old one gets too tough. The Russian government is spending a ton of money, especially on military stuff and social programs. They've got a rainy day fund, but it's getting smaller. If oil prices drop, things could get tricky. Imagine having a big savings account but knowing you're dipping into it more and more each month. There's a bit of a labor crunch in Russia right now. A lot of people left to avoid being drafted for the war in Ukraine, and now there aren't enough workers in many industries. It's like trying to run a restaurant with half the staff. Things get tough, and service might slow down. Sanctions have made Russia push harder to develop its own tech. They're putting more money into local tech companies and trying to become more self-sufficient. Think of it as deciding to bake your own bread instead of buying it, but on a much larger, tech-savvy scale. Russia isn't just looking west anymore. It's building stronger trade ties with countries like China and India. These new friendships are helping keep their economy afloat despite the sanctions. It's like forming a new club when the old one doesn't want you anymore. To help people feel a bit better off, the government is offering super cheap mortgages. This means more Russians can buy homes, which is great, but it also means the government is picking up a hefty tab. Imagine getting a great deal on a house, but knowing someone else has to pay for part of it down the line. Could Russia's growth into Europe's biggest economy, even with lots of sanctions, really last? Or is it just a temporary success? What do you think? Don't forget to like and subscribe for more.